What is up, everybody? Welcome to another therapy session. Mr. T, how you doing, man?
Yeah, Fools. What's going on?
Okay, so this therapy session, if you remember my previous therapy session on Star Wars for the new trilogy, I did with our good buddy Rob from Ruler 2 Review. This one we're doing with Mr. T of the Mr. T Show, and we're going to talk about the new trilogy, but with also the actual spinoffs in it. So just to let you know that this therapy session is going to be a little bit different from the one we did with Rob. Just let you know.
Just a little bit.
just a little bit. Just a little bit, because I don't think anything's going to change on my side about the new trilogy. Not much anyway. But and I will say this. I do think I owe a few people an apology. After watching the new trilogy, I have to say that I owe George Lucas an apology for what the things I've said about the prequel trilogy in the past. Although I still think he made some questionable choices with some
dialogue.
Of the stuff. Yeah, dialogue.
And maybe actor.
Yeah, and other things in there. His trilogy actually makes sense from the standpoint that it's a cohesive story, at least.
Look, I'm not here like a lot of people will hate on Hayden Christensen, say he can't act. Kid can act, okay? Yeah. The problem is he was a very young actor at the time, right? Yeah. So he, unlike what's his name that plays Obi-Wan?
Ewan McGregor.
Unlike Ewan McGregor, he wasn't able to take that dialogue and still kind of make it work. Like Ewan McGregor was a seasoned actor at the time, so he could take the dialogue and the direction, the quote unquote direction that he got from George Lucas a lot better. That's why you see a lot of the older actors in the prequel trilogy fare a lot better, right? A lot of the older actors, they do better. It was just the younger actors like what's her name? Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen, who couldn't quite pull it off.
And plus, the other thing too is they had no fucking. I'm sorry, they had no chemistry.
Yeah, I mean that's such that they had no chemistry, and maybe that's a part of them being just too young and not able to fake the chemistry well enough. But you know that a lot of that comes from directing, and you know. I love George Lucas for his story, his creativeness. You know, he built this awesome world, but he's not the best director. I mean, we can just be honest about that. And so when you have actors that young who need like really strong direction, he couldn't deliver that for them. You know, so that was the main problem I had with the prequels. Yeah, there was a lot of CG. You can complain about stuff here and there, but if the other stuff worked, like the story and at least the way the story was told and the dialogue and acting and certain characters, you would, people wouldn't nitpick some of the other stuff. Like you can live with, all the CGI in those movies. So. But what we're saying basically is that we have a new appreciation for the prequel trilogy because, boy, that Disney Star Wars trilogy, man, there's no real defense.
None.
We'll break it down for how it turned out. Yeah. But, I mean, there's really no defense. Sure, you can like some things about the movies, but you can't tell me overall those were good movies, and especially a good trilogy together. Because, boy, oh, boy.
And that's one thing that I will say about, because I see a lot of times where people it's kind of like it's like a badge of honor. I'm gonna go at like the popular thing that's working out and pretend like I hate it. Like, so the popular thing right now is what Marvel Studios did with the MCU. They told a grand cohesive story over 23 odd movies. And of course,
they're not perfect movies. They're still flawed, but they work. The overall story of each movie works well enough where you overlook the flaws. Yeah, Avengers
and some of the actual plot holes actually get answered in later films.
Right? That is true.
So, it's one of those situations where you're like, oh, so that's why they did this, this, and this. Yeah. The problem with Star Wars is, and that's another thing. One of the things that I saw I love Patty Jenkins. Do not take this as hate toward Patty Jenkins. I I love her work, but she made some complaints about Thor 2 because she wanted to take the movie in a certain way, and Feige was like, "We can't do that because we're trying to tell a certain specific story that we're trying to go toward." And of course, they had creative differences, and she left. And one of the things she praised about DC was that she had the freedom to do herself. I'm like, yeah, but if DC had
had no plan.
They had a plan and an overarching story they were going to, you still wouldn't have been able to do what you wanted to do.
Exactly.
And that was one of my main issues with this new Disney trilogy was, okay, yeah, J.J. Abrams kicked the story off in Force Awakens. They let Rian Johnson do what he wanted to do. Yeah. That was a problem.
But here's the thing, though. They did want JJ to do all three. Yeah, JJ didn't want to do all three. Yeah. So he takes some blame, too, for what happened.
He do not get off the hook.
Oh, no.
He don't get off the hook. But the thing is, like, Kathleen Kennedy is at fault.
She's number one to blame.
This is your baby. So if you have an overarching story you're trying to tell, then and on top of that, it's a part of a trilogy. You already know Last Jedi is a part of a trilogy. You can't let your director do whatever the hell he want to do.
No.
You just can't. And then
in the middle movie, especially.
In the middle movie, because I'm like, can you imagine if, let's just say Lord of the Rings didn't have a book series to go by, and Peter Jackson decides that Peter Jackson, he's not doing Two Towers. We're gonna let Christopher Nolan do Two Towers.
Good God.
I rest my case. I rest my damn case. Or no, even worse. We'll let Joel Schumacher do Two Towers.
Oh, goodness.
I rest my case. And then we're going to bring Peter Jackson back for Return of the King.
And nothing wrong with those two directors. They have their own thing. That's the problem. They have their own way of doing things.
They have their own style.
You can't do that with a set, world. You can't do that.
It's like if it was John Woo in the middle of it. Like John Woo has a specific style. You can't have, and that's what happened. Rian Johnson's in the
great
middle.
Example about John Woo, because remember Mission Impossible 2?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, not the favorite of that franchise.
But if you watch it as a standalone,
standalone film, it's great on its own. But if when you put it in the
no, it doesn't work.
No, it just does not work.
Yeah, so and then you bring J.J. Abrams back for 3 for Rise of Skywalker, and
so he's having to sew up things he had in his mind or in his notes that were completely disregarded or changed in the second movie.
And this is my favorite. I love the people who watch Last Jedi religiously and then be like, see, y'all didn't understand. Right before Rise of Skywalker came out, y'all didn't understand what Rian Johnson was trying to say, the story he was trying to. I'm like, dude, first of all, plot holes, bad story decisions.
Right. You can't change elements of the world. Here's the thing. If Rian Johnson directed Force Awakens, then we can maybe say, because you can be establishing things. You can establish stuff in the first of the Disney Star Wars movies. But you can't come in after stuff was established and completely throw things, out of whack. You can't do that. And so there's nothing. Like, I like Rian Johnson as far as his directing has been before, and his writing and stuff. I love Brick. I thought that was a great movie. I loved Looper. I thought that was a great movie. Like Knives Out is a great film. This is after, so he's a good director. But you can't, and he even said it himself. He does not like being rushed when it comes to writing, and he was rushed on Last Jedi.
Well, he said it would be bad.
These are his words. I don't like being rushed. I could not be a studio writer because I don't like being rushed. It takes me forever to write. And he had time to write Looper. He had time to write Brick. He had time to write Knives Out. And that's why all those movies are really good.
Yeah, but at the same time, those are standalone films too.
Right, and they're standalone. He can make his own world. Here, he has to adhere to a world that's been around for 40 damn years.
Yeah, you have to play right. Like, you have to play in the sandbox properly.
Right.
And the other thing too is we can say that Last Jedi is where they started Finn's making him useless.
Yeah, Finn completely useless.
Yeah.
They tried to elevate Ben Solo.
And they failed miserably.
They failed miserably. He is not. That's the thing. That's one of the biggest problems coming out of that movie is like, oh, they're trying to make him Darth Vader all of a sudden. No, he's never going to be Darth Vader. Like, I can't look at him and take him seriously as the guy. You know, like
they did nothing with the Knights of Ren.
Nothing with the Knights of Ren. Again, that is part JJ's fault. He set these things up and just left it, to somebody else.
And look, I said this in the original.
And the movie itself, we can say how it didn't fit in the Star Wars, it didn't fit after, but the movie itself doesn't work on its own.
Yeah,
because you're who knew or cared about fuel before that Star Wars movie? That was never a thing. You can't all of a sudden talk about fuel. You can't use, although it was a cool visual, you can't use hyperspace as a weapon.
Yeah. And
you can't do it. Like, you can't change these rules. You can't all of a sudden have a Leia as a god, basically. When you didn't set that up at all. She's never, obviously JJ had to go and try to fix it and show her having some Jedi training in the third movie. But at that point, we hadn't seen her do anything.
Yeah.
Jedi, they didn't mention it. They could have at least tried to mention it, right? Like, instead of just having her fly out in space. Oh, and by the way, all your friends out there who also got blasted out there, the hell with them.
Yeah, the hell with them.
I'm just gonna say it myself. It just made her look bad. On top of just looking bad visually, it looked terrible how she floated back.
And on top of all of that, she had already passed away, and they had their out, and they should have took their out instead of trying to be like, we're gonna honor her by keeping all her scenes in, and even putting her in 9. Like, don't do this.
Yeah, like that's JJ again. That's JJ's fault.
Yeah, I'm like, please don't do this. Because, well, I say it's Ryan's fault too, because Ryan Johnson was the one that said he was going to put all her scenes in, and I'm like, dude, you have an out. When she got blown out in space,
you're right. You're right. I forgot. He had the chance to get to end her character there. I mean, I wouldn't have wanted it like that. Like, it was still that whole scene was just disjointed. It just killed your boy Akbar like nothing. Like nothing.
But I'm like, but at least it made sense.
Contextually, it makes sense, but they hadn't done anything with Akbar up to that point. That's what I'm saying. Like, in the new trilogy, you can't just kill him off. He was a big part of the last 2 movies. You can't just kill him off and then like not have anything. He had no dialogue or anything. They just killed him off screen, basically, as far as I'm concerned.
And can we talk about, like, because I love Daisy Ridley, I love John Boyega.
Yeah,
I do not blame them for anything.
I don't blame him at all
in this movie, but in these trilogy movies, and I understand
she's very likable. Like, that's one thing I love coming out of Force Awakens, was that she was a very likable character. She was very believable in that character. The only problem I had with that is that she beat Kylo Ren at the end. She should not have. She should have got her butt handed to her. Well, but even though he was hurt, that would have made him look even better. It's like, he was bleeding and he still handled them as he should have. Or
at the very least, protect both of them in that fight and just make it where something interrupts it.
Well, they had something that interrupted the damn crater.
Yeah, but that didn't.
They should have used that and said, all right, nobody wins, but she clearly was out of her league here.
Well, the problem was that when that part happens, she's already had the upper hand, and that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So you're like, that should have happened.
Like, placed his face and everything. I'm like, if that should have happened after he dropped Finn. Right.
That's what should have happened. But
my thing should have split. After he dropped Finn, he was going in for the kill. Then the planet splits. Yeah, and that's it. That's
because that way you don't have to. You can have her force grab the lightsaber. Cool. Right. Planet splits. Bam. But my thing was, they were setting it up in Force Awakens as Finn actually had force
power. Yeah. And they came back to it again.
But the problem was Ryan Johnson acted like, nah, he ain't got that.
Now we just gonna keep him. We gonna make him basically give him the same arc we gave him in the first movie
with a different girl.
We already went through that with a different girl, right?
With a different girl. And we're gonna put this whole
30 minutes. A coward. The minute he struck that lightsaber up, he's no longer that character anymore. He's no longer that coward. He pulled a lightsaber on a Sith master. You know, like that's it. He's no more a coward.
And was fighting him. Actually gave him 2 wounds.
Yeah, gave him 2 wounds.
Been able to do that.
And you don't come back in the next movie and you're just bumbling, I need to get out of here, run away from this situation. Yeah. Coward. Like, no.
And I will say this, because I did say this in the last one. They should have, if they were going to make Rey pissed off, they should have killed Finn in Last Jedi. Yeah. Because when I did not buy her being angry in Rise of Skywalker. I didn't.
Mm-hmm. I was ready for him to die by the end of that movie, because I was like, they've done nothing with this dude. At least he have some kind of redeeming quality of trying to save everybody going out like that.
And then on top of that, she would have felt it, and it would have made us like understand why she was getting angry.
Right.
Why she was like, you took away my very first friend I ever made. You took him away from me. I'm going to F your life up. Right. You know? But they didn't do that. They tried to do that creepy ass love story, which
I was just about to say. They tried to force that in there. No pun intended. They forced that in there. And to me, that was a total female play.
We're caving.
It was a total play for the female viewers. Yeah. And I think that's pathetic, because you're pandering stereotypically. Like, women should be upset about that. Like, that's not how you get me to watch something. Like, giving me some fake pandered love story, some forced love story.
It's a toxic love story.
A toxic one.
They tried to kill each other on multiple occasions.
Right.
So
let's get together and be a couple.
And T, this is the part that really made me laugh in January of this year, when they come out and like, no, that wasn't a kiss of love, that was a kiss of friendship. I'm like, I have female friends. A kiss of friendship is a peck on the cheek. Or a hug. You don't kiss nobody on the lips, in the mouth. Like that. Yeah, and talk about that a kiss of friendship.
No. I didn't see her actual friend Finn get a kiss like that.
Yeah.
He was the one in the friend zone.
Yeah. So here's the thing. That whole situation fell into the problem that I had with the original with the prequel trilogy, because Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley have no chemistry. Period. No. And now it worked better with them as adversaries. Now you can have it where, like,
he killed her dad, basically, bro. Like, in front of her. Like, why the hell would she? I said that he's unredeemable after that. At this point, you can't kill an icon from Star Wars
and be redeemed like that.
Way and be redeemed. You can't. Yeah. It's not going to work.
Yeah. So. And the problem was, once again, and I've said this before, I'm like, look, I get that people don't like interracial relationships. I understand that some people have an issue with that. But the problem, the thing about this is Daisy Ridley and John Boyega have amazing chemistry. You could tell that because they actually like hanging around each other. I do not think if you were going to force a love story in here, that's where the love story should have been at.
It should, because it was a natural. That wouldn't have been forced. That was a natural progressive. Progression of a love story.
The second movie, Last Jedi, was about him trying to find her.
Right. He was all about her.
And here's the thing. When
they shove in some side girl that's trying to get at him, like, come on, what is that?
Then the killer about all that is there is more chemistry in the 5 minutes that they see each other for the first time in Last Jedi than the entirety of the movie with him. And I'm not knocking Kelly Marie Tran, but it just wasn't there.
Nothing wrong with her. We're not talking about her. We're not talking about her personally or her character. It just didn't work.
It just didn't work. But like I said, and if you think about it, there's not one piece of spoken dialogue in that whole sequence between him and her. All they do is she moves the rocks. You see them look at each other and they hug, and you're like, okay, yeah, if they're gonna do this, that should be the love story right there.
It's like some writer saying, "Oh, they are doing things together. They're going on a little adventure. Equals love." No, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works. I'm like,
you have nothing that leads up to them liking each other. He definitely doesn't like her. Even in what you did, you can tell he wasn't about her.
No.
It was all her on him, which didn't make any sense either. Another toxic thing because, you want the guy who you called a coward, who is going to run away, who you know, like that's the guy you want after all that? That's who you want? Like, come on.
And then the criminal thing of giving Kelly Marie Tran, an awesome actress, 76 seconds of screen time in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, they just did her so dirty in Rise.
Bro.
I mean, where could you go? Because I guess you weren't going to give her her Finn, because nobody would have been out for that. That would have made no sense.
It would.
So you didn't give her anything. Like, you had nothing else for her to do.
Literally. It's worse than what Bryan Singer did with Jubilee in Apocalypse, the X-Men Apocalypse.
I was gonna say what would have been a good way to actually put her back in the story was to give her Poe's kind of side story, because that didn't really work either. So maybe she knew what's her name and not Poe.
Yeah, but she knew the old girl from Felicity.
Right.
Carrie Russell. Yeah.
Carrie Russell. Like, she knew her and not Poe. Like, that would have been, I have my sister's friend, or
that would have made more sense. Because
that writing room must have been like, nobody's saying anything. Like, I'm just gonna
I guess
whatever.
Everybody was scared to say something, because I'm like, once again, I hate the idea of a love story just for the sake of a love story.
Right.
So you didn't have to put one. That's one.
Especially if you don't do anything with it, like they did. They tried to shove something with him, Poe, and Carrie Russell's character. Can't remember her name because she was barely in the damn movie. To begin
she was only in like 5 minutes.
It's hard to remember her character, but like, you could have, did without that. We didn't need that at all. It didn't help his character at all. Like, he was already a cool badass. That's all you needed. Like, we already knew that about him. Did that elevate his character at all?
Nope.
No. It was a waste of time.
And the other thing with that was, I'm like, okay, once again, we have elements in a movie that should have been in the second one, because once again, this is a trilogy. We should not be introduced to brand new characters in the end of a trilogy.
In the second one, if she was going to be a character,
and the other character that should have been was Jaina, the other stormtrooper girl.
Exactly.
She should have been in the second one.
That shit was interesting.
Yeah,
but I wanted to know more about that. Like,
you put her in the last hour. Yeah, you put her in the last hour of the third film.
I mean, that's insane.
Seriously. I'm like, and this is where she gets introduced.
Right.
So I'm like, come on.
And I just think about, like, the original trilogy. I don't want to do that too much because it's unfair, because it was a period of movies. But I think about how long it took for, the movies to start. Yeah. It took like 40 minutes by the time you saw a human in Star Wars. But you got so much story still out of that movie, and it worked.
Well, I think the other thing too is they took 3 years between each movie.
Well, obviously that's one of the major problems. Is they rushed people.
Took 1 year, and you're like, no, dude, it's clear that you can't. Like, once again, the reason why you could do Lord of the Rings like that and Harry Potter like that was because they already had books
that have been around for 100 years.
You can do Chronicles of Narnia. You can do Lord of the Rings. You can do some of the Marvel stuff, because most of those stories, most of those stories they were trying to adapt was like Winter Soldier was what, 2003 when that comic came out. Civil War's 2006. So those comics had already been out. So those graphic novels are there for you to read. Hell, Infinity War and Infinity Gauntlet was out in the 80s.
Yeah, but you know what the problem is? I'm glad you brought that up, talking about the graphic novels and the comics that came out and that they adapted for these movies not too long after, like 10 years, not even after, for some of them. Star Wars had that. They had stuff that they could draw from. But Miss Kathleen Kennedy came in and said, all that stuff doesn't matter. That's not part of canon anymore, and that put her whole grasp on this Star Wars in the Disney Star Wars thing behind the 8 ball. It was over after that because she just dismissed all that lore that had been built up. That she could have used. She could have utilized some of that stuff. And George Lucas wanted her to. He was so betrayed. He felt so betrayed because he handpicked her.
Yeah, and she
thought she was going to be his voice, and nope. She got it now. I'm running the show. That's
why you got to be careful who you got to be careful. But that's the thing. I'm like, and I felt that like some of that stuff that we heard last summer about Rise of Skywalker, which like her one shot in the Emperor and all that. I felt like
I thought there's no way that's real.
And I'm like, no way. But if you see the ending, you're like, oh, that was real.
I'm like, wow,
that was real.
Every leak was right.
Yeah, because I'm sitting up there, I'm looking at this ending, like, I can tell when they did that. I can tell when they reshot it. You can tell.
You can tell. Like,
oh, that was real. Okay, whoever wrote that should have been fired because.
Well, you look at Kathleen Kennedy again. How many directors she had to fire midway or right before the movie was supposed to start production? Well, how many times did she do that? And 3 or 4 different movies that happened with her?
Because she did.
You are failing if you can't get the right people in place and have to change your mind into production.
Like, how are you going to hire Chris Miller and Phil Lord and get mad? They made a comedy. Have you not seen
80% of the movie is made 80%, and you have to start almost all the way over.
And my thing was, what kind of movies they do. This is not some big conspiracy. This ain't no big. They ain't like they lied on their resume. You can see their resume.
Right. And what are you afraid of? You can have fun with Solo's story. That works.
I mean, it makes more sense for it to be a comedy in the same vein as like Guardians of the Galaxy was. Because let's be honest, Guardians of the Galaxy is nothing but a space opera comedy.
It is.
So that's what. Matter of fact, when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, people were saying like they did a better Star Wars than Lucas did.
Yeah, Star Wars has exactly.
Because at the time, Star-Lord was basically Han Solo.
Yeah, he was basically Han Solo. I mean, basically.
Yeah, that's. I mean, down to the fact that he was a scoundrel.
He was the young Han Solo. He was the guy you would think is unsure of himself, unlike the Han Solo we got in the Solo story. Yeah. Like, because he wasn't. I don't think he was. Was he ever unsure of himself? He was basically Han Solo already. And we were expecting to see something like Star-Lord, where he was like, trying to figure himself out. He wasn't quite,
his plans don't really work, but he's still trying to go through with it.
Exactly. We had one moment like that. You know what it was?
The Kessel Run. When the Kessel Run?
It was it before or after the Kessel Run? When he was boasting, and your boy took off in the Millennium Falcon. Where he was talking to the redheaded chick, who we learned is a little redheaded girl that we're supposed to be afraid of for some reason. But
they never explained that either. But
that was very Han Solo. That was very early Han Solo. That was one of the moments I thought, that's what I wanted for the whole movie, and that's what Lord and Miller were going to deliver.
Yeah, because they had to keep some of their stuff in there.
Yeah, that was a Lord and Miller moment. I guarantee you, that was one of their moments.
And my other thing too is with that movie is I didn't like how they did Lando. They was trying to say basically he would screw anything. I'm like,
you can't sleep with a damn robot. That's a stupid.
I'm sorry, dude.
Stupid if you think about it.
And to have the robot actually say, "Girl, you
don't know."
Like, wait, what?
It doesn't work.
Like,
if you were a sex bot built like a woman, maybe but you are a pile of bolts.
I'm like, I was just sitting there like, did they really just say that? And like, yes, they did.
This is what we really have this in a Star Wars movie. Like, this is what we're emphasizing.
I didn't like that. I'm like, look, we all know Billy D. Williams was the supreme player back in the day. Hell, I still wouldn't leave a woman around him now. But
seriously, you saw how you were checking your girl and Rise of Skywalker. It was like, oh, I was confused. Like, is he trying to be a father to her or her daddy?
or a daddy. Yeah, so I was like, what?
I'm confused here.
And that's the thing. I'm like, okay, trying to say, because you want to stay woke and be like, oh, polygamy is fine and all that stuff. Trying to say that he would literally sleep with anything.
Say that he's a pansexual. Like
no, he's not. No, he's not. And that was already established. So don't even do that. It was already established that he was that your boy he put his thing down. Right. But it wasn't for it wasn't for everybody and anything that moved. And they literally said in that movie, oh, he actually had sex with a robot.
No. Like, if you want to say alien chicks, I believe that. Like, what's his name? Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk. But to say, and the problem was, like, we saw the robot, and we saw with the robot. It wasn't like it was a sex bot. It wasn't like she had like. It
wasn't like she was some female android. Then you could be like, all right, I'll roll with that.
I'll go with that. But no, she looked like freaking one
of the maid from what's the cartoon Jetsons.
Yeah, and you're like, okay,
there's nothing sexy about that robot. Like, there's nothing.
Literally, how? Yeah, no.
I mean, it was a throwaway joke, but that's canon. Now that's canon.
Yeah, they made it as it was canon, and I'm like, that's not cool.
No,
that's just not cool. Because one, that's I don't even think that's funny, and
it's not even funny.
Two, it's just like, okay, no.
And then him screaming when she got broken apart.
Yeah,
I'm like, can you just fix her?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, why are you crying? Why are you crying like she just died in your arms, dude? She's still alive. Just take the chip out.
Yeah, how many times has C-3PO been blown to pieces?
Yeah,
this makes no sense. Again, you're not understanding the world you're working with here.
Yeah, and once again, like, and I didn't hate Solo, but I was just like,
no.
It was just like it was
one thing about Solo. Yeah, it was clearly rushed because boy, that cinematography. Some of it, the outdoor stuff was great, but anything inside was dark. Like, you could barely make people out. It was muddy, man. It was not shot well.
And like I said, I thought it was just okay. But it wasn't great either.
It wasn't great, but it wasn't a bad movie. And even though it should have been bad.
Yeah, it really should have. But I had to give. That's why I give like Emilia Clarke, Aiden Ehrenreich, Donald Glover. I had to give them Woody Harrelson. I had to give them props because
they did what they could. They had to work with. So
they did what actors do. So I mean,
I'd have been pissed off. I'm sure they got extra pay, but I'd have been pissed off having to go and redo all this stuff.
Yeah, because
especially if I was having a great time doing.
Because it sounded like they did have a good time with Phil and with
at least the Lord and Miller cut, man.
Y'all talking about release the Snyder cut. Nah, release the Lord and Miller cut.
That movie is 80% in the can, so you could do it way easier.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, I don't know. Let me ask you this, because I've noticed that films that have big films like this that have two directors, like the Russo brothers with the Avengers stuff, and Chris Miller and Phil Lord and Miller, they actually do a better job with movies. Have you noticed that lately with these bigger productions? Like,
because it is. I mean, I work on a much smaller level, but when you get somebody that you can gel with as far as writing, and because you take a load off, it's a lot of directing, especially a huge movie like these movies, is a lot of work, a lot of walking around talking and trying to keep yourself motivated. And if you have somebody you can bounce off some of that stuff too, like, you're going to get better results. I totally understand. The two director thing working really well, especially if you're brothers or something like that. I could see that being a bad thing too, because you might bump heads as brothers the way you wouldn't bump heads as not strangers, but a friend to somebody else, because family, that could be really bad. That can turn out to be really bad. But if you have a brother that you work really well with or something like that, I can totally see where that works better in a lot of cases. Because you can say, oh, okay, you handle this action stuff because maybe you're a little bit better at that, and I'll talk to the actors and how, what their motivations are and all that stuff. So totally.
Yeah, so I've noticed. I just noticed that, especially with like something like Into the Spider-Verse that Miller and Lord did as well. I'm like, dude,
everything was gold.
Yeah, so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm like, okay,
they're great together.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, when you have that, like, to me, it makes the movie seem like it flows better, in my opinion. So
who's that Menace to Society? What's the
Hughes brothers?
The Hughes brothers.
Yeah,
they are great in everything they do together. So
I see that, like, a lot of that is probably like a issue, but on the flip side,
man, being a director is stressful. I when a movie is good, that's a great thing, because it takes a lot to make a good movie. Like, I don't take anything away from obviously, if you don't have the resources and stuff like that, that's not a lot you can do about that. But when you have the resources and you make a big piece of trash, like, I still understand that, because it's a lot.
Yeah. So I think, like, especially with me just looking at the Star Wars stuff going forward, I like what they've done with the Mandalorian. I like that. I like the idea of, okay, let's use Disney Plus to set stuff up and then take our time crafting the next movies. Because once again, I don't think every Star Wars film needs to be a trilogy.
No,
it doesn't. Like, if you could get through, if you're
done with the Skywalker,
and please, God, be done with it.
Did you hear the rumor though?
Yeah, I heard about the.
They're gonna retcon.
Yeah,
I don't think that's gonna happen. That can't happen. I would actually be mad about that.
Well, my thing is, don't retcon it, because y'all did it.
Yeah, you can't do that, because I'm gonna be pissed off because you wasted my damn time.
Yeah, basically, I'm not. Don't
waste my time anyway. But then to come out and say, yeah, we're gonna completely waste your time.
Yeah, no, because, like, first of all, like, I like John Boyega and Daisy Ridley. I don't think they did anything wrong, and to sit up and try to, because it's kind of like it's kind of like saying,
Hayden Christensen did anything wrong too.
Yeah.
They get way more flack
for
whatever reason. I guess because of the time or whatever. It was cool to hate on George Lucas at that time. So
yeah. I mean, he kind of made it easy, but
he made it easy. Don't get into it, because he's always messing with stuff.
Yeah.
He should leave it alone. But there was nothing wrong with them separately. Together, obviously they didn't work.
Yeah, but I think, like, you're trying to basically erase what they did, and I'm like, you shouldn't erase what they did.
Yeah, that's not cool.
That's not cool. And now I see why. Now I see why when they went on those tours, those press junkets and stuff like that, you see Daisy and John telling the truth now.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care no more now.
Like, we out of jail now, so I can tell you whatever.
I can tell you exactly how I feel. These movies.
People got mad at him when he said, "I'm not doing any Disney Plus or any of that stuff." I don't
blame him.
It's like, I don't blame dude. Like, yeah.
Why would I do that when y'all treated me like crap on this?
Yeah, when you made me, that
y'all made me a thirsty, bumbling fool.
Yeah, like, nah, I ain't coming back for that.
Nah, and then,
you
like,
deserve me to come back for that. I mean, part of me wishes he would, because maybe they can redeem his character.
Well, if Jon Favreau did it, yeah.
Right.
But I'm like, I wouldn't come back for just some random person. No.
Yeah.
It would have to be like Jon Favreau or somebody like that can talk me into doing it. And I don't think anybody there can talk him into it.
Yeah, because I think everybody would love Finn and Poe Disney Plus show. Like that
would be cool.
Writes itself, but it's not going to happen. Neither one of those guys are. I'm done with that. I'm done with Star Wars, bro.
Like it left a bad taste in their mouth, and I can't. And I completely understand why. I'm like, once again, like I said, I've seen, like, them on the red carpet, and you could tell, like, yeah, they're not coming back.
Yeah.
They're not coming back. Not to that. Like, I know I did hear a rumor that he's trying to the Marvel is looking at Boyega for something, but I'm like, that's probably the only other thing he probably gonna do big wise anyway. Because remember, he used to do a lot of indie stuff.
Yeah.
Before he got snatched up by, because people didn't know who he was. I'm like, ooh, that's the buddy from Attack the Block. He a good actor. Yo. I'm like, I'm like, he a good actor. This is gonna be a good pick for Star Wars. And then they carried that movie. And then they did what they did to him in Star Wars. I'm like, Lord Jesus.
I was so excited when I saw him pop up as a stormtrooper in that first trailer. Yeah. I'm like, my boy Boyega finally getting recognized, and they totally messed him up.
Yeah, totally. So it's one of those situations where I'm just sitting back and I'm like, you know what? How could you make this better? I'm like, first thing they need to do is, first of all, reinstitute the expanded universe.
Yeah.
Just bring it back, because none of them books went anywhere, by the way. No. They just said they weren't going to use them. And my thing is, you need to use them, because now you got stories you can pull on, and there's way more interesting stuff anyway, that's more than the Skywalker stuff, because most of the stuff that I've read have nothing to do with the Skywalkers.
Yeah, the stuff that George wanted to do and to dig into was way more fascinating because it's new. Yeah. That's the thing you can't take away from George Lucas. Every time he does something, it's new. He don't rest on his laurels. Like he'll throw up, a line or whatever from the original trilogy and stuff like that. I got a bad feeling about all that kind of stuff. Yeah. He'll throw that in there, but he's trying to introduce new planets. They don't give you a new planet or an old planet and just give it a new name like they did with Tatooine. Another desert planet. Oh, exciting.
Really,
you saw the prequel trilogy, you saw some fascinating new planets. Like this is like very cool.
I wanted them to go back to Coruscant, because I'm like,
we never really got Coruscant,
I'm like, how did they go from that? And that was another thing. Like, they never answered basic questions. Like, how in the hell did the First Order get that strong that fast?
Did they blow up Coruscant? I'm lost. Like, I still don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, how did they make a star base 2 times bigger than both Death Stars with literally no money
from side factors? Now they're supposed to try to kind of explain that in Mandalorian.
Yeah, so they tried to.
No, they haven't really done it yet, but that's what the Mandalorian is supposed to be about. How they
got back on top. Yeah. They have to, because nobody explains it.
Well, that's not going to be the main story, but that's going to be happening in the background, basically.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, somebody has to say something, because nobody said nothing. It's like you don't get completely destroyed, and then 25 years later, you better than what you were with no money.
It's like they just tried to act like the original trilogy didn't exist just because it had been so long. But everybody who loves Star Wars knows the original trilogy like the back of their damn hands. You can't just introduce this stuff. You can't just, what do they call it? A soft reboot?
Yeah,
you can't do that when all your fans are all about the original trilogy.
And you keep bringing in characters from the original trilogy.
Right. You can't do that. You got to make a new story.
Yeah. I mean,
that was their biggest fault, I think. That was their biggest problem. Or you do a really good handoff. Who did that really well recently? Where they had new characters or old characters, and they handed it off well. Maybe that did that, or no, there isn't one.
There isn't one, because I was trying to think, but I'm like, I don't remember seeing one.
I feel like there is one, but I don't think there is. You gotta. I think The Force Awakens was trying to do that.
Yeah,
but they messed up right away when they killed Han Solo. So I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to like pinpoint what, because there's the laundry list is so damn long. It's hard to like try to pick, but I'm like, and I don't want this to feel like it's how dare you hate. I'm like, look, my thing is, because I hear a lot of people who like to review movies and stuff. I like to review movies from time to time. And I have to keep the same energy for all of them. If I don't like bad dialogue and bad writing, I have to say something. I don't care if I do like Marvel. If Marvel had a badly written movie, Iron Man 3 and Thor 2: The Dark World, I had to say that. You know, if I'm mad about Batman v Superman because there's clearly plot holes in it, and like one side of the story is not being told at all, I have to say that because that theatrical cut is garbage.
Remember cut, Superman? Remember him?
Yeah. But you know, I'm not gonna sit there and turn around and try to pretend so I can fit in with people and say, hey, Batman vs Superman was better than Civil War. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't, because Civil War, whether you like Marvel or not, they told you both sides of the conflict very well. It was defined and you knew it. Batman vs Superman,
liked it visually better than I liked Civil War. I thought Civil War, you know, it was shot pretty blandly, but story wise, it's leaps and bounds
better. It's leaps and bounds better story wise because of the simple fact that in the theatrical cut, like I said, you had to say that the theatrical cut of Batman v Superman, you only see stuff from Batman's point of view.
Yeah.
You don't see it from Superman's point of view. So how can you sit there and say it's not a versus? And then their fight was lame as hell. I'm sorry, that fight was lame as hell between Batman and Superman. It was lame.
It looked cool, but it just didn't. It didn't make sense.
And then the line of all lines. Why did you say that name? Why did you say that name? Like,
why is Batman using machine guns when you know there's only one thing that can hurt that dude? Like that to me was just like, oh, look at these visuals, you know?
Yeah, and that's why when people sit up and get mad at me for liking the airport scene in Civil War, I'm like, because I got to see cool shit from everybody.
Yeah,
and I got to see every character shine and get their ass whooped at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can pick it apart about little things, but it works way better.
It works way better. So yes, Batman vs Superman is okay, but it had problems. Yeah. Like I can't sit there and then turn around.
You know what would have made it better?
What?
Had it only been Batman vs Superman, that would have made it 20 times better of a movie. If you focus on Batman vs Superman, they're trying to shove all this stuff in Justice League and the
Ninja Turtle and Raphael from Ninja Turtles
and Superman. You can't put all that together. You got Justice League people. You're trying to shove in the death of Superman. We only have Superman for one damn movie. How are you gonna kill him off already? How are you gonna bring in the death of Superman right now? Are you serious?
Mr. T, you can do that. You can do that if you have competent writing.
No, but you still can't do that because we only had Superman for about 30 minutes.
You really did, yeah.
We had Superman for 30 minutes in Man of Steel. That's all we had.
Yeah.
So you can't come in the next movie and kill him. It don't make any sense. You know how many stories there are between Superman becoming Superman and the depth? Are you serious?
Actually, you can't. You shouldn't have did Batman versus Superman because
I mean, you could work that better than you could. Because there's some stuff like I like the idea. Oh, he destroyed Metropolis. You know, so Batman would be worried about him. I get that works for me. That actually does work.
But you can't use Frank Miller's Batman.
But you can't use Frank Miller's Batman exactly
because Batman, Bruce and Clark are the same age in the DCU,
and they're friends. And they're friends. The time by the time you have BBS, they're friends.
They were. Matter of fact, they're best friends at the time of Batman vs Superman. Because Superman don't want to fight him, and Bruce don't want to fight him. It's just the fact that they have to fight because of the simple fact that one of them knows
the true blue government guy, and Batman is not about that at all.
And Batman understands that, dude, these people are freaking wrong, and you are helping them, and you know they wrong.
Right.
So that's the thing. Like, it's one of those situations. Like, I get it. I get why people like what they like, but at the same time, you can't sit there and get mad at one for one thing, and you don't get mad at the other movie for doing the exact same thing that the movie you don't like does.
My biggest problem with Civil War is Zemo just didn't work for me at all. Like, he knew way too much. He was way too good at planning and plotting. Like, there was a lot of holes with him.
There was no good because there was stuff that was happening. Like, there's no way he could have planned for that.
Yeah, there's no way. Like, that's the kind of stuff that bothered me about that movie.
Now,
again, the other stuff worked well enough to where I was just like, all right, that's just, I'm gonna have to eat that. You know, that's
I mean,
like
I liked I liked the idea of how they did Zemo because they took some stuff from the comic, like
it made it emotional, but it just didn't make
it just didn't make because
it would not fall to his crap. Like that wouldn't work.
Like it was one of the things where like there's no way he was that perfect in planning to where that would happen to where that would no dude, nobody's that damn perfect.
You're talking about some guy in a hotel room. Like that's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. So I give people that. I do. But I on the flip side of that, the way they portrayed him, it kind of made it work for me because I can understand a person who just lost all his family and he hurting and he want somebody to feel his pain. And he know he can't beat him. He know he can't beat him. I'm gonna make you kill each other.
Yeah.
So I get that. But at the same time, like,
that's the part. I'm gonna make you kill each other. That the intricacies with that didn't work for me. You know what it took.
Yeah, but the idea of his plan works. The idea of his plan was like, oh, that's genius because he knows he can't beat him. He know he can't. He ain't got no superpowers.
Right.
He done. If he tries to go with them.
He's done.
So he has to make them do it themselves. And
I'm gonna get captured and get out of it somehow. Like you ain't no genius like that. You ain't Lex Luthor. You know what I'm saying?
I like Baron Zemo, but he ain't no Lex Luthor level villain. He ain't no evil. He ain't no Joker level villain where he can get caught because he want to get caught.
Right? You ain't Loki. That works for Loki. Like but bro.
And with Loki, it's more about his magic because he just wants to be there because he thinks it's funny. With Zemo don't get caught like that. Nah. But therein, like I said, I feel like if you say something like that, you have to say that for every movie. You have to keep your standard movie. That's why I have such a big problem with the X-Men films.
Because one other thing, the destruction. Like they gave Man of Steel so much drama for destruction. Yet there was mad destruction in Civil War, and nobody said anything about that.
And I was sitting there like, dude, like I don't understand if people understand how a Superman fight actually goes.
Like that's how it's
supposed to go.
So, have you seen any of the? Have you read any comics? But have you seen any of the animated stuff?
Yeah,
like they are destroying stuff left and right all the time.
Like, this ain't Dragon Ball Z where Goku is aware of his powers and takes people outside of cities so he can fight them because he knows how strong he is.
Right.
This ain't. I guess
it was just a lot of nitpicking.
Yeah,
that's what I didn't like about Batman vs Superman compared to like say something like Civil War. They did a lot of nitpicking when it came to BVS.
Yeah, and I'm like, you can't nitpick. Like that's why I say you have to have the same critique. The same critique.
And I'm a DC fanboy, but I think I'm pretty fair. I'm saying I think it works better in Civil War than it does work in BVS.
Yeah, because you saw both sides of it. They're clearly defined. It's not clearly defined. So so for me with the Star Wars stuff, it was the same way. It was like, okay, look, this is how I like to critique my movies, and if I see this, I have to say something. I'm like, it's not like I'm hating just to hate. I'm like, dude, The Last Jedi was messed up from the writing from the get-go. Rise of Skywalker just because they can sit up and say they weren't trying to rework Last Jedi. Yes, the hell they were.
They totally were. I mean,
yes, the hell they were.
Watch the damn movie to know they're trying to retcon everything.
They were trying to retcon, and they didn't have enough time to retcon.
Right.
They just did.
Had one movie,
and then they bent the knee to the fan fiction community with that whole Kylo Ren Rey situation because I'm like, that is a toxic ass relationship.
Right. Here's my thing, bro. Like they could have easily saved it. Like, Rise of Skywalker should have been 2 damn movies. Like there should have been Rise of Skywalker Part 1. They did it with Harry Potter. Rise of Skywalker Part 2. Like then all that stuff that you were trying to shove in there, you could have fleshed it out a little bit more. You could have made it work. There's no thing that says it has to be a damn trilogy. I don't know why they got that stuck in their head. What's wrong with making more money? Make those people who came to Rise of Skywalker come back.
Well, they would come back.
But they would have. They would have if you would have made a more fleshed out Part 1 and then part 2. Like that would have been good. Like because there is a good movie and there's 2 good movies in there. That's the problem. But they're all squished together.
And the other thing too, I think like especially with me, I just didn't like how they did John Boyega. I'm sorry, man.
But they could have fixed John Boyega because they could have fleshed him out a little bit more in Rise of Skywalker 1. And then they could have made him what they wanted to make him by Rise of Skywalker 2. It could have worked. You could have made 2 movies and made a really good Rise of Skywalker. What do you call it? Storyline, as plot line. Like it would have worked what you were trying to do, but you were so stuck on we got to make a trilogy,
which makes no sense.
Yeah,
because I didn't see anywhere in the bylaws that said you had to have that. But whatever.
You had a movie that they literally they did nothing. They literally did nothing in Last Jedi. Like they moved the story along not at all.
Yeah,
that movie was a slow, it was a slow chase scene. That's all it was.
It's basically. I mean, and the other thing too is. I didn't like, and this is the last thing I'm gonna talk about, is I didn't like Palpatine being the villain.
No, I think Palpatine should not have been the villain.
I think it would have been better if Snoke was an actual person.
Yeah.
Like maybe he worked under Palpatine. I don't know, because dude, I went back and watched Return of the Jedi, and he got electrocuted, thrown down a nuclear fission shaft, and blown up. His name is not Frieza Palpatine.
He was done.
He was dead. All right.
Again, you could have introduced Snoke. Yeah, you killed him. Let's say you killed him in obviously.
And had Snoke be a clone.
He could have been the clone dude. Like he could have been a chameleon. You could have made him. You could have went back to the past of what you had done before, you had established before, and what was the second one called? Attack of the Clones.
Yeah,
you could have brought something back that we liked in Attack of the Clones, like the Kaminoans, because they didn't really get a whole lot of screen time. We didn't really know about them. So you could have made Palpatine. You could have made Snoke a Kaminoan.
Yeah,
and that would him. And made him be. Yeah, you thought you killed me. Yeah. I got clone bodies all over the place. You can't stop me. Like and that would have been epic. That would have been epic.
And that way you could have had you kind of could have had Kylo Ren, the Knights of Ren, Finn, Rey, and Poe fight against the clones.
Right. That would have been, oh my gosh. Yeah. Do you hear this, people? How cool this could have been?
But once again, you would have had to fix Finn to not be a thirsty coward, and you would have had to cut that whole Kylo Ren, Rey in love shit out. You would have had to cut that shit out. That just could. One, it doesn't make sense from a story standpoint because she never met Ben. I don't care what anybody says about that. From a story standpoint, she did not know who Ben was.
No.
She didn't. She only knew who. Now, if you want to say Leia talked to her about Ben and how Ben grew up, that's different. But we have no evidence that ever happened.
Why would she have? There was nothing to lead her to have feelings for Ben whatsoever. And on top of the fact that she killed her stepdad. He killed her stepdad.
And then the killer of all killers is he tries to kill her once again on multiple occasions. And now, what does Hollywood always say? Hollywood say they don't like domestic violence and all that, but toxic men and all that. What the hell was just that?
Who's more toxic than Kylo Ren?
Yeah, one he's unstable and emotionally unstable.
He's like a teenage rage monster.
And two, he has no qualms about fighting pretty much anybody.
It's no redeeming qualities whatsoever. He wants to murder his own parents. Like, what? That's my guy.
To be like his granddad.
Yeah, like there's nothing redeeming whatsoever about him.
So my thing is, why are you doing it? And then to try to push it and then try to come back and walk it back because you realize that A, that was a stupid decision, and B, your response to that stupid decision, because you bent the knee to the fan fiction people, was that was a kiss of friendship. No, I'm grown and my eyes did not deceive me.
Yeah, I'm not stupid.
So
I can't fall for that.
And it was just creepy. It was just creepy. Now you can have him bring her back to life as him trying to atone, and that would have been fine. Right. But at that moment, I shot a bird at the movie screen. I'm like, I'm not coming in here and watching this again. I've seen Rise of Skywalker once. I won't watch it again.
Yeah,
I just won't. I refuse.
I'll never watch. I'll never watch The Last Jedi again, and I'll never watch Rise of Skywalker again.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. I'll
barely watch Force Awakens because I know where they're going. It's like it's like going back to season 1 of Game of Thrones. Like I can't. Like, I know I'm gonna be. I know where this is going.
Yeah, I know.
It's pissing me off. Even though these are great, even though these stories are great, especially the first 3 seasons is amazing. Yeah. And I know where it ends up, so I can't get invested in this again.
Yeah. So, and my thing is, I'll just watch the Disney Plus stuff because if Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau is going to be over this, I'm all on board.
Have you seen the behind the scenes? What is that called?
Yeah, the gallery. The gallery.
Oh, I love it. I love the gallery. I love it.
If you love like to see special effects and how they do stuff, I would advise everybody to watch the gallery on Disney Plus. It's 8 episodes. It is amazing.
They shove Kathleen Kennedy in there, and she has nothing to offer whatsoever.
I like the fact that they talk to all the directors and all of
that
the.
Is so cool.
It's cool because and then talking to Gina Carano and you get to see Giancarlo Esposito. And they do hint that yes, he gets to use that Darksaber season 2. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Like yes, Carl Weathers is coming back. I'm like, yes. So I'm all
looking bright. Future's looking very bright for that show.
Yeah. So I'm actually like, and it gave me hope for the Ewan McGregor series, the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah.
Because if
I was a little worried at first, but
if these are the people that are running this, I have more faith in them than I do in the movie side. On the movie side,
yeah, and he's not a unknown. Like everybody loved him as Obi-Wan, so you have that goodwill. You're going into it with, don't mess it up.
Yeah, I don't think they will because 2 of the directors from
I don't think they will either. I'm just saying that
because 2 of the directors from Mandalorian are on that are directing episodes for Kenobi. So, I'm like, yes, okay, cool. I'm all in.
We're gonna get to see some Force stuff, like we missed that. Obviously, Baby Yoda does it a little bit, but we get to see a powerful Force Jedi.
And I think the other thing too is that with Mandalorian, I was glad I didn't see it as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm glad. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't need that in Mandalorian. I'm just saying because this is obviously going to be more about Jedi and stuff.
Yeah. But I would like to see like the mixed variety from the actual universe, like where you get to see the bounty hunters, the other because it's
regular guys running around. I like to see this.
Like Jedi and Sith can still get worked over. I mean, the Mandalorians worked over the Jedi and the Sith for centuries.
Oh yeah.
So it ain't like just because you a Jedi or you were a Sith that you just unbeatable. No, you're not. So, and one of the things that I loved about the Mandalorian, I think it was like episode 2 or 3, where they showed what a real Mandalorian fight looks like when they all get together.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's how it goes down.
It ain't easy.
That's how it goes down when they fight. Okay, because like even in the Clone Wars cartoon, they hinted at it.
Yeah,
but you really never really saw it on a visceral.
Never really saw it on a live action, like a real. All them together like that level.
Yeah, like there was a couple of episodes where you saw them fight, but then they'd have to flip back and forth because you can't show too violent on the cartoon side, on the animated side. But like it was cool seeing like, oh, so this is what they meant when they was like, that's why the Jedi and the Sith were forced to join up to try to take out the Mandalorians.
Right.
They were forced to team up.
Exactly.
That's a movie I want to see. Like where the Jedi and the Sith had to band together because the Mandalorians were going to make them extinct. I would love to see that. But I think that does it for this therapy session, man. I feel good. I feel better about this.
Yeah, me too. I feel better.
Getting all that out, I feel better. Like I said, look, it's not for me, but if you want to watch this on Disney Plus, I just watched the original trilogy. I did go back and watch the prequel trilogy. Like I said, I do have a newfound respect for it because of the cohesiveness of the story. I guess because I'm older now, I can appreciate it more, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That documentary about the original trilogy is amazing too.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah, don't get me wrong. It still got problems, but I just have a deeper appreciation. Plus, watching like the gallery and the other documentaries on there, I mean, it's not bad. So, I think the next therapy session we got is the Marvel Netflix stuff. I think
Marvel Netflix.
Yeah, that's the next one. So, that should be fun.
Oh yeah,
because boy, do I have some things to say about Netflix for doing what they did. You bastards! But
that ain't all their faults. But
it ain't all their fault, but it's mostly theirs. But yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the therapy session. And we'll see you back a little later with Marvel Netflix. See y'all later, and peace out.
Yay.